paragraph 1 basically says that Islam is the religion of the Federation. Only Islam is mentioned in the Constitution. No other religion is mentioned.
If you're Muslim, you're only judged in the Sharia court, or you can also be judged in the normal court?
Well, good question. The Sharia court has a certain prescribed area of jurisdiction. Okay? So there are only certain things that you would go to the Sharia court for. So, for example, a lot of the family law matters, you only go to the Sharia court, you don't go to the secular court, right? But in terms of, say, criminal law, right? Criminal law for standard crimes which apply to everybody, then you go to the secular court, right? So if you're talking about murder, you're talking about theft, you're talking about cheating, or you're talking about punching somebody, violence, all that goes to the secular court, okay? But the Sharia court has jurisdiction over some of these sort of offenses that offend against Islamic principles. Consuming alcohol is considered an offense in Islam, but not in the secular court.
If someone wants to change the religion, a Malay person, can they do it, or it's not possible?
The short answer is you can, but it's difficult. It's difficult, and it's a long process.
Are there any consequences to changing a religion being Malay?
Yes, because again, if you look at what's showing on the slide at the moment, if you are a Malay, meaning you are a Muslim, then you fall into this special category of groups of people that in our constitution are given certain preferential treatment. Okay, so there are some special privileges that are reserved for Malays.
Are there any reserved Malay lands still active today?
Yes, yes. The whole area of Kampong Baru, if you know where KLCC is,
Yeah.
right? So opposite KLCC is the whole area of Malay Kampong, across the highway. You know the Ampang, the Ampang Highway.
Yeah.
If you travel on the Ampang Highway, one side is all the big tall buildings, then on the other side is all low kampongs, and that whole area is Malay reserve land. So technically, you could argue, and the government sometimes does, that Malay Bible is a piece of dangerous literature that can only be found in churches and nowhere else. So how, as a Christian in this country, you live your religion when you have these kinds of restrictions? And he says that humanism, and secularism are the new religion threatening Islam.
But human rights is not a religion.
Well, it's not a religion, but he's saying that it has now developed into an ism.
Yeah,
It's like a philosophy. Almost you could argue, and really, elsewhere what he has said is that it's like a secular religion. Because one of the wonderful things about Sarawak is that although there are different religions, they are basically one very large group of people. So it's just like basically one tribe, but the tribe has, some are Muslim, some are animists, some are Christian, but they're all the same tribe. So the unity of the basic underlying unity sometimes keeps them from fighting each other. I remember once, one early morning, I was walking my dog around my house, and this very elderly Malay gentleman comes out of his house and says, you shouldn't be keeping dogs. This is a predominantly Malay Muslim area. You should not have dogs. Because his view was dogs were unclean. I'm a Muslim. The majority of the people staying in this neighborhood are Muslim, which is not true. Therefore I should not have dogs. Right? So you're opening up a new area. You could build a hotel together with a shopping mall, together with 300 houses, that sort of thing. You've got to put a place for a mosque. You don't put a place for a mosque, your application will be rejected. Okay, so for example, a few years ago, there was a renovation at a church. So the church has a steeple, right, where the bell tower is, right? So they told the church, you got to lower your bell tower because from the mosque we don't want to be able to see your bell tower because we find your bell tower offensive.
We didn't find anything about Jews in Malaysia because they're not allowed to come into the territory.
Let's put it this way. There are Jews in Malaysia. It's just that you don't announce it. Right? I mean, when you come into this country, right, they don't ask you what your religion is. Right? So it's almost like a don't ask, don't tell policy. You don't tell us you're a Jew, we don't have any problem. As long as you don't come in on an Israeli passport, we've got no problems. If you Google, there was an incident last year where there was a church in a particular neighborhood. And like all churches, it had a cross on the side of the building. Inside the building on the top. And it's this group of about 40, 50 Muslims. They basically threatened the pastor of the church and insisted that he take down the cross. Okay.
So you took the cross off?
He took the cross down. Okay. So you may not get beaten up by saying that I'm a Christian on the street, but this kind of mob pressure does exist.